What's up, Internet? Today we're doing another POV cage enclosure video. So, for anyone thinking that I only hate on bearded dragons, not exactly the case. This is our little bearded dragon girl. She's technically a rescue-ish, more like someone got it because I had a other bearded dragon rescue and it passed away because it was older and had not been treated very well, so they got me a new one thinking that I wanted it, and they got it from a rescue situation, but not exactly. But either way, this is our girl. She does not really like me, not super handleable, and we're working on that, but more like I just use her as a good example of good, arid desert enclosure examples. So this is her, bit of a sub-adult, so as you can see, she's not very overweight, and she is on loose substrate here, which I know sounds like absolutely no to some people out there. But the thing about that is loose substrate's kind of everywhere. It makes up most of the landmass that's above water around the world, including in Australia, where these large agamas are from. So, by the way, an agama, that's one kind of lizard. Bearded dragons are an agama. So our frilled lizards, frilled lizards. So, the Jurassic Park dinosaur-looking lizards and several other species, including the Spider-Man, the toad-faced agamas, and all these other things. They're a really, really diverse group of lizards, and they're really, really cool. So, there we go. We're going to zoom out, and you'll see something of a common theme in this enclosure upgrade as all of my other ones, which is a complete divide of different substrates, as well as, we'll completely zoom out here, a different setup. Sorry for the tape and stuff there. I bought this stack of 4x2 enclosures from someone who used to breed bearded dragons, and I'm constantly changing exactly how I like the setup, and this is currently where we're at. That dome light in the back I will probably take out now that I have redone their heat source. It's still just hanging out there. That used to be a ceramic heat bulb, but for a basking spot. But I will talk about heating in just a moment. So, as I said, this is a 4x2 enclosure. So this is honestly what I think is a good minimum enclosure for an adult bearded dragon. When it comes to lizards, and in all honesty, most snake species, bigger is better. Does that mean that you should put a single lizard in just with a bowl and a hide? Same thing with like a ball python or something? No, you should make use of the enclosure like this. So, sorry for the crunching in the back. That is Speed Bump and Pinecone munching away, but it was either they munching sounds of them chomping on greens and lettuce, or them cruising around scraping against the side of their tortoise, I guess, square, table, whatever you want to call it. So, here we go. So, over on this side, we have that desert substrate mix of play sand and rock and other things that I've shown in other videos, like for the gray banded king snake, which is over there, and for O'Malley, which is over there, and above this one is the blue tongue skink, and then above that, that's Remus, the Accu monitor, who's on that as well. And on this side is a mix of topsoil and cypress mulch, which holds humidity much better. So, thing about bearded dragons, I know we all have that idea of Australia being it's super arid, a bunch of red dirt, crazy big rocks, usually like a broken down truck or something. I don't know why that is a stereotype, but there it is. But lizards don't actually spend all of their time in that baking high over 100-degree basking spot. What that is that they spend an hour basking and then they'll cruise for things and they go back out of that sun because it gets too hot for them. They spend a large majority of their time, not all by every means, but a large majority of their time in burrows, under debris, under logs, in trees even. There are a lot of pictures of eastern bearded dragons, which I'm aware is a different species than these guys, in trees. So they will climb because they do have those nice sharp little claws. And as everyone who knows who has a handleable personal dragon talking to you, that means you, not a fan of handling, they will climb and hang on you. So all of this chala wood here, which is just dead and then cleaned, dried, baked cactus here, there, are all good places for them to climb. And then as well as this, I wish I had cork bark, but compared to a upside down turn wash bin from the Dollar Tree that I've put a hole into, a little bit expensive. So I wish I could sit here and build out very expensive and really cool enclosures, but I just don't have the, the income for that. So baby steps, right? That's what we're all trying to do, is just baby step this. So this half here is kind of the more humid side, which does allow for a nice big burrow for her, which will accommodate her. Once she gets larger, I will probably make the opening a little bit larger, but she can very easily get into there. I just refilled her water dish and kind of moved stuff around for the purpose of this video. So nice big full water dish. She won't necessarily drink out of it all the time, although I will see her do that. I will pull this out. It's not in here every single day, or when it is, sometimes it's really low, or I'll flip it over because they won't necessarily drink water every day, but I still have it in here, specifically on the days where I'm feeding large amounts of crickets. So the dietary things of bearded dragons is a whole thing that I don't really want to get into, but I do feed her a variety of crickets, of other insects, including dubia roaches, mealworms, even some superworms, as well as salad mix, which is kind of the same mix as most of the other vegetarians in the house. Several different greens, turnip, kale, not kale, mustard greens, collard greens, and then different squashes, a little bit of carrot, a little tiny bit of fruit every once in a while. She gets this most days, pretty much every day. There's a little bit of salad here, and then she gets bugs every other day to every third day, of depending on whatever that is. If it's dubia roaches, she'll get them every other day. But I try to change it up, so that way she has a nice, varied, stable diet. And as you can see, she is not underweight at all, as well as the fact that she is not overweight, which is still good. She's still growing, but as you can see, she has nice health on her. Her tail looks really nice. All of her toes are intact, as you can see, even with my loose substrate or whatever that is. She's doing just fine. So when we talk about this whole enclosure again, I'm going to zoom out for a little bit more of a macro view. It is pretty well decked out for climbing, as well as over there. My boom mic is in the way. We'll zoom in. That is a rock for her to bask on, as well as this. That is actually ceramic. So it's similar to rock or tile, but it's not smooth, and it will hold that radiated heat. Not well, technically it's radiation. That's what heat is. But it will hold that heat really well. As well as I have engineered this whole room, kind of like the gecko room in the other room, to be kind of cooler and more humid. This is our arid desert room, and I've talked a little bit about that, where the ambient temp is always in kind of the low 80s. So it's a good ambient temp for her, and then I provide this burrow with cypress mulch and things, or not cypress mulch, sphagnum moss, for her to get into to cool down if she wants, as well as I do provide her with clean, fresh, cool water, plus these greens, but she does need that higher basking area. So what I have done in this whole stack, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4x2 cages stacked from ceiling to floor, that all have the more arid types of species. So the northern blue-tongued skink, the Aki monitor, this girl. Eventually we're going to be getting maybe some shield tail agamas, and I don't really know what else. The other two on the bottom are, kind of, well, they're vacant at the moment, at least for right now. So I haven't figured that out. But these temps are a little bit warmer than the rest of the ambient room, so we don't have to worry about that. As well as I have an area over here on this part where that rock is, where the temp is much higher. So we take this over here and we do boop. Hey, nope, and on the rock. There we go. So 104, that's a basking spot right now. It's a little bit cooler right now because the temperature does cycle during the day. So even though I don't have oh yes, I know you hate me so much. Even though I don't have that basking bulb going, the temp is still really good. And then we come over here and we look at that 81 on the cool side and such. The humidity and temps are a little off right now under there because I just refilled it in that, but that will dip down to about 77 at the coolest, probably still close to that 80-degree range. And as actually we move further up this as the day progresses, this will probably, the top of this little hill will also kind of fluctuate in temperature a little bit. But it's cyclical because that's how days are. It's cool in the morning, it gets hot in the afternoon, starts to cool off in the evening. And so that's kind of what I try to do. These guys are on 12 on, 12 off light cycles. Obviously that's the UVB bulb. Every single one of these enclosures, as we'll zoom out a little bit, there's the blue tongue up there, there's the Aki up there. They all have those 12-hour UVB timers. So with that being said, this is the bearded dragon set up. I'm not trying to go into too much detail. I just want to show you a little bit of an example about something that maybe we can do, just different things to try out. So basically the main reason why I keep doing this particular setup where it's this one side versus the other is to just give them a choice. So when we talk about keeping and husbandry, we are starting to make steps. We've, gone from the turtle death bowls to the shoebox under the bed to, scooping up dirt from the backyard and putting that into an aquarium. And then we kind of jumped to that, YouTube social media thing where everything was breeding, so everything had to be sterile and all these things. And we're starting to move away from that again. And we're starting to come back to these things where we can start talking about husbandry and enrichment and socialization, and all these other hot words are popping up where they're very relevant and they're very true. And we're starting to learn a whole lot more about all of these animals, not just bearded dragons, not just ball pythons, whatever it is. We're learning a lot more about these animals in general. And I wish she was cruising around, but I know I'm just standing here yakking, so she hates me so much. But this is something that, while we can, change up their enclosures, we can move the fake plants around, we can toss around the substrate. Doing this also gives them a choice. So up here, this will be a little bit warmer. Not necessarily that it will eventually get to 110 degrees in the middle of the day over there on that rock, but this will be pretty warm. Over here will be pretty cool. The very back corner, that'll dip down into kind of the high 90s, mid 90s area. So there's cool and hot spots. Still definitely the cool side of the enclosure. That's the hot side over there. But there's still varying degrees for her to move around wherever she wants to thermoregulate. That's just basic husbandry. But this gives her a choice of very deep substrate to dig into here, to dig into here. If she wants to go in there, she can. If she wants to climb, she can. Either on top of this mountain, which a lot of people don't use this vertical space for more terrestrial species. If she wants to climb on the cool side, if she wants to climb on the hot side, if she wants to climb up there, she can. So it's just giving her a choice. And then periodically, once a month or so, I will entirely change this up or a little bit, move this around, retoss this up, take this one out if she doesn't seem like she's using it, maybe put in another stack of rock. Maybe I can get some slate pieces and stack that up. Not necessarily found in nature, but good for her to maybe sit and perch on or something like that, where it gives her a choice. That's what the same thing I do with O'Malley, with the fat tails, with the gray band. I'm giving them a choice of this cooler, different feeling textured substrate or this other loose substrate, cypress mulch, coconut, topsoil, sand, whatever it is. I want to give them an option to see what they do, and just watching their behavior is super interesting to me. Sorry to get a little ranty there at the end. I just think it's something that's really cool that I think we're starting to see a real change and switch to. And while I'm filming this right now, the light might go out on me. I don't exactly know what time it is, so sorry if the lights go off. That might call an abrupt end to this video. But I hope you enjoyed this, gave you some food for thought. I mean, I know everyone has their opinions about what, like, the best, the best type of enclosure, what all these different things are, but I can tell you this, I've had her for almost a year now. She's doing just fine, clearly healthy, thermoregulating properly. She's moving around, just not very social despite my best efforts, but to be honest, I'm okay with that in the end. Animals are individuals too. And when it comes to doing shows and stuff like that, I like to have different animals, so a bearded dragon never really fit into my plans for educational outreach shows. So she is just a grumpy little girl who will live out the rest of her days, hopefully, in contentment here at Jay-Z's Reptiles. Hopefully you enjoyed this video again. So hopefully this gave you something to think about. You enjoyed this video. If you have any, questions, comments, let me know down below. jzsreptiles@gmail.com. Make sure you do check out our new podcast, Keep Calm, It's Just a Snake podcast, because I'm very original like that. We do have plenty of guests on there, as well as periodically you'll just hear longer updates from me which includes things about her and breeding plans and all the other little crazy things that happen here on almost a daily basis. So just check us out. If you would like, hit us up on Patreon, where animals that I won't even talk, well, not won't, but haven't even brought up on the YouTube channel or anything like that will appear, as well as fun projects, sneak peeks into the stuff we're going to get up to, any reptile adventures or other weird stuff like that. Hit us up there for bonus content, as well as gifts. We have merch, if I haven't brought that up yet. So I have wristbands, we have masks, stickers, t-shirts, and we have new designs coming out. Sorry about that at the very end. I know this is a longer one. Really, really sorry. Hope you guys still enjoyed the video. Check us next time for more reptile content, and we will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye!